Hello and welcome to the F1 Sim Racing World Championship 2025. I welcome you to day 3 of event 2, and it is time to have the quali show. To bring you up to speed, we went racing yesterday in Spa and Zandvoort, and Barry Burman became the first driver to get 2 wins this season. For the Drivers' Championship, it is very much wide open, and for the Constructors' Championship, well, that is very much being led by Mercedes. At the end of today, who will still be on the top spot? It's time to find out as we go racing in COTA, aka the Circuit of the Americas. But if you missed all the action yesterday, then here's what happened.
The lap time's coming in. Barry Burman's had a really tough lap. He's going to drop down, he's going to drop out. In Q3, Ronhard takes it away. Brendan leads a 4th. Fassi, our championship leader, already down to 7th place. Nicholas Longuet is in 6th. We've got Alfie Butcher on the front row at the moment.
Yeah, obviously really good. We've had some tough qualifyings in the last couple races, so it's really nice to be back on the front row where we can fight for the win.
Brendan Lee, he's got the jump, but getting the jump on him is Alfie Butcher, and it's a big move for Alfie Butcher because the net race lead belonged to Tom Manley. Loving life at McLaren is the man out front, your leader by a mammoth, Alfie Butcher.
Yeah, obviously really nice to get my first win in Papaya. Obviously we converted really well from the front row of the grid, so yeah, we're looking to kick on now.
Jarno Otmir, championship leader, out in Q1. Williams are back and both Mercedes are out. A shock for the team. Barry Burman over the line and he's been joined by his teammate. Are we going to see a response from the Williams pair? Fassi gets to the front row.
Very good feeling to be back where we belong. We know the pace was very good coming into Zandvoort, and just like last year, we were very competitive and we're in a very good position. The Williams are right next to us in P2 and P4, so it's going to be a fight between us two.
Deployment is being used. You can see the battery draining for Fassi. Does he shape for the move into turn 1? He's not close enough.
Oh! Win! A late lunge! Oh, it's not enough, but he came from miles back. He came from Amsterdam. That was so well judged from Barry Burman.
I had to defend for, I think, 25 laps against Isma. Was one of the hardest things I've ever done in my life. But luckily I could sort it out and bring P1 to the team.
Welcome along then. Let's get the quali show kick-started. To do just that, I have an excellent team amongst me right now. Alex Jakes, F1 commentator, Matt Gallagher, the legend in green, they call him. And of course, Joel Taylor, the steward, today. With one of the most loved jobs in this building, it's fair to say, Joel. We are going to be talking about a few penalty issues. But first of all, Jakes, what action we've just seen there yesterday. A win for Alfie Butcher and Barry Burman.
It was fantastic, wasn't it? It was genuinely very wet all the way through the entire event, and the drivers had to deal with it. So, yeah, great action, great winners, wonderful battling, and a dive bomb move, which caused absolutely no controversy.
No controversy whatsoever. He came from Amsterdam. Don't you do that. We've got to be very professional. He's cheeky. That's what you get with this show. Matt Gallagher from the P1 podcast. Matt, did you do a little dance to get some sunshine on the track today around COTA? No rain. That's what we're hoping for.
No, I haven't done a dance yet.
Okay.
I'm sure some of the teams will be. We were probably going to say that about Ismail Fassi, but then he bounced back amazingly at Zandvoort and was showing incredible pace around there. So Fassi now the championship leader again. I'm hoping we do just get a dry race, a normal race that we can enjoy, because there are so many drivers out there that can win a race. We've seen it already. And the championship is so close still.
Yeah. It is so close, which means there's going to be extra spicy moments on track. There's going to be some incidents, and that's where Joel comes into play. First of all, have you enjoyed event 2 so far?
I think it's been fantastic. We've had some absolutely amazing racing, some great overtakes, very interesting moments, some very interesting moves, and that's what you like to see. I think the rain has an element, especially with time qualifying. That's been fantastic as well. Every second is just breathtaking. You don't know where anybody is, where they're going to come out at the end of Q3. So yeah, hopefully more of that, please. Maybe not as much rain.
Yeah, okay, fair enough.
But maybe a little bit more
it keeps you very busy. And look, it's not easy to keep everybody happy. We've got a couple of incidents we'd like to run through. Joel, let's start with Silverstone between Declan Barrett and Lucas Blakely. And actually, let's take a look at the penalties first. So this is from Silverstone Circuit, Event 2, round 5 of the competition. Was it full of penalties? I mean, let's talk about this one in particular.
So this instance actually,
That's slam dunk.
Yeah.
That's a pen.
that is one of the easy ones to make your decision on. So this is Adu going into turn 3. As you can see, he's quite way back, makes the move. An honest opinion, he just wasn't there.
Yeah.
You know, it just, you could see the logic, but
You're
just
generous calling it a move, to be honest with you. That was very, very late. Never on, really, with Edo, was it there?
No.
He almost gets like tempted into it. He sees there's a bit of space towards the end, but no, never going to happen.
Is there much arguing from that point, Joel, with the teams? Are they trying to look for an angle? It's a competition. They're going to look for whatever way they can.
Not with an incident along those lines.
Okay.
Sometimes we do have incidents where teams may see it different to how we do and may see it different to how the other team sees it as well. But with something like that, as you mentioned, they're all top quality drivers and very professional. So there was no real questioning or backlash from that, if you like. And I think, you know, again, they got the respect to kind of turn around and say, yeah, we're not arguing that one.
Okay. Let's look at another one then from Zandvoort yesterday. Talk us through this one. I mean, let's have a look at how many, quite a few more penalties right there. Because in-game penalties are given. Matt, you were talking about, like, we'll go through the appeals process. We'll see whether they stick. But then Joel's having to deal with that. Joel, let's talk about some of them.
Yes, of course. So, as you can see, there's quite a wide range of penalties there. This penalty here was move up the inside, a little bit of contact, and then just as he exits the corner, he's just failing to leave racing room. So you can see the McLaren's point of view here. He turns in, the car comes in quite late, a little bit of bashing, and there's nowhere for him to go. That does take a little bit more discussing, because you look at where the cars are on entry, you know, who's ahead at which point. However, at this point in time, you know, he was shuffled off track. He wasn't allowed the racing room, and that's why the penalty was issued.
Okay. What do you make of that one, Matt?
Makes sense. You know, Lucas was forced wide. Whether the contact was the sole reason he went off there, I'm not entirely sure, but there definitely was contact, which you know, it's pretty slam dunk. And I guess the penalty didn't really change much because that was right towards the back. But it's interesting to see those ones that you don't necessarily see during the race because we're focused a little bit further towards the front.
It's not an enviable job, is it, Jakesy?
No, it's not the easiest job to do at all, especially when it gets, I mean, I think the two that we've seen are fairly clear cut. When it gets to 50-50 calls, then it becomes really tricky.
Okay. Well, Joel, thank you very much, Mr. Joel Taylor, aka the Steward, for Event 2. Thank you very much.
Let's
look at the driver's standings as Joel makes his way out of here, ready to get very busy late into the night. But there has been some controversy of penalties given. Drivers are emotional after a race, but there's a system in place, and the team are doing a fantastic job. Right, Ismail Fassi currently still top of the driver's standing with Thomas Ronhaar on joint points with Jarno Opmeer. At the end of today, which Dutchman will be higher up the order? And then you can see further down, shout out to Joni Tormela, one of the oldest drivers on the grid, getting some valuable points for his Alpine team yesterday. It was so action-packed, and it's just incredible to watch. And I know that you are going to enjoy the race later on tonight when we come back at 2100 Central European Time. But as I mentioned at the top of this show, Mercedes just with such an incredible lead right now, Matt. It's going to be really difficult to hunt them down.
Yeah, we're raving about the driver standings because that's where a lot of people like to see the driver's crown go to the fastest and best driver across the season. But yeah, the constructor standings, we've praised Mercedes throughout most of this season so far, and that's where the consistency has been. in that team. They've been there every single race and scored solid points. And considering when you look at the drivers' standings, you go, how on earth have they got that big of a lead? But then you go, wait, they've got 3 drivers that are all essentially somewhere in that top 10 or just out of it.
Yeah, and yesterday, as we welcome, of course, the ever-present Marcel Kiefer to the desk, former F1 sim racing driver, we are heading to COTA. You were joined by Danny Beresney for some fantastic analysis, and I'm sure the fans were watching going, let's have a bit more of that as well. But Marcel, 2 great races yesterday. Looking forward to today?
I think it will be even better. It has to be, because we're getting closer to the championship final and it's going to get heated up. The drivers need the points. Some of the drivers, especially the ones that don't maybe get enough showing, like within Mercedes where they always swap around, they need to make sure that they score big points, because if they have to wait out another race, then they need to also show up for the race that they're actually doing.
Let's delve back into the history of Marcel Kiefer when it comes to COTA. I've got the stats just here, JT. I've written them down. 9th in 2022, 9th in 2021, didn't race in 2019, and then way back in 2018, finished 7th. What did you like about this track? What did you find tricky, Marcel?
Well, definitely not my results.
I can't believe you read them all out.
But I just wanted to start there.
Unbelievable. You were pretty good round COTA, weren't you, Marcel? How did you find it?
I was looking at it and I was like, oh my word, this doesn't get any better.
That's a lot of numbers.
I was expecting a podium at the end. I was like, there's no way he's reading out 9th place. And I was like, it only goes to 7th.
I am setting the scene for a driver who has experienced...
I can't believe you've been that mean to Marcel.
Marcel. But there might be a story to some of those races in COTA, Marcel.
Probably just not great performances. But honestly, I think in quali I was decent, but suddenly I think the races, they didn't go so well.
Well, there's the point. What can these drivers do? Because quali, that's the show we're doing right now. Where would they be attacking this when it comes to the race then, Marcel?
I mean, the track is just incredibly difficult. It's a combination of sort of like all of the great parts of tracks around the F1 calendar. Especially Sector 1 feels very similar to Silverstone, but the drivers have to attack the curbs like crazy. Uphill braking into turn 1, then flat through turn 2, 3, 4, 5, and a little lift in turn 6, sweeping into Sector 2. And also, it's quite unique because, you know, the entry of Sector 2 is determined by how you exit Sector 1. So if you go very fast out of Sector 1, you really care about the Sector 1 time, then your Sector 2 is going to be slower. Whereas when you focus on Sector 2, you can actually carry more speed into the left-hander. So it's always like you might not read too much into Sector 1 and Sector 2 because Sector 3 is the big game.
Okay, he's won twice around this circuit. That's Jarno Opmeer. He's got the driver's guide for us.
All right, Texas on F1 24. Turn 1 is always a difficult one as you brake uphill, which is the easy part, but you head into pretty much a blind apex. You don't see the apex until very late into the corner. As you head over the crest, it's fairly easy to lock up the inside front. After turn 1 though, it's all fairly easy. It's flat out on the F1 game through the wall S section until you reach turn number 9 and turn number 10. Turn number 10 having a very tricky exit, very easy to lose the back end and the traction through there. A lot of lateral load on the tire while accelerating up the hill. And then you head towards the hairpin onto the long back straight, very important exit. At the same time also very low minimum speed, so important to carry a lot of minimum speed through that hairpin. Then down the long straight, braking into the last corner of Sector 2. Where you have to cut a lot of the inside apex to carry as much speed as possible heading into Sector 3. Sector 3 is lots of time to be found due to the slow corners starting off in Sector 3. Good overtaking opportunity through the long left-hander. A lot of dive bombs can be made there. At the same time, you can also go for a nice switchback. So lots of opportunity in that corner right there. And then we head through the flat-out right-hander, fairly straightforward that one. And then one of the most tricky corners on the F1 game, where you have to use a lot of the entry curb in the second last corner. Cut the inside as much as you can and get on power super early while carrying a lot of speed into the last corner. Mainly want to carry a lot of entry speed as the run up to the line is very short. And that's pretty much a lap around a circuit of the Americas in Texas.
Thank you very much to Jano Opmeer for giving us that track guide. He makes it look so easy. He put on his socials a kitten looking at itself in the mirror saying, lock in. So the guy's ready to go. He's won twice at this track. Little quiz question for any of you. Who else has won twice around this circuit?
Ooh. So let's go Freddie Rasmussen.
Because he's nailed it.
Yeah,
Absolutely nailed it.
That's most likely. He's won a lot of races.
Yeah, most likely.
But in terms of qualifying, Marcel, you said you've qualified previously at this track very well. And then in the race, things don't go your way. But what do they need to focus on here to get the best opportunity for them and the team?
I mean, if we pay attention to what Jano did there, like the driving-wise, they have to really be on point with the track limits because they can cut a lot. But if they just move one frame in the wrong position, it's game over. Like they are immediately off track and they have to go again, or they are out of the qualifying session.
For me, what stood out in that track guide, and I mean, I hated it every time I'd be doing a lap around COTA, is that penultimate corner.
Yeah.
There is no reference, really, unless you've got a secret one that you might be able to share, because it's a blind apex. You're literally just chucking it in and hoping. There's a sausage curb on the inside, then you can't extend on the outside. How does a driver prepare for that corner? I need to know.
I want that question answered, but it is time to go.
No, you must stay here,
No,
Tom.
I will not. I have to go. I have to go.
You
want to quality around COTA.
You can.
Stay. I'll pass it over to Alex Jakes,
That's
Matt
gone
Gallagher,
well, hasn't it?
and Marcel Pieper.
That's gone very well. Thank you, sir. Thank you for that. Appreciate all of your work as ever. And here's the circuit again. We'll have another look, having discussed it.
And this is where I can get my answer.
Yeah, so turn 19 is where you were talking about, around this undulating, challenging circuit. And now we present the answer.
Well, the answer is you kind of don't have an answer.
Okay.
I mean,
brilliant.
honestly, it's based off feel. Like, there's a couple of corners where you're like, okay, 100-meter board, that's where you brake, then you turn on maybe right before the 50. But on this one, it's kind of just based off feel. Like, you look at the apex and you just stand and pray.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Appreciate it. Appreciate the honesty. I think
swing it and hope.
I might have made some nonsense up just to see if the other side of the desk believed it. But Marcel's a good guy; he wouldn't do that to us. So here we go. Q1 in what has been a thoroughly enjoyable but wet and wild second event of the championship in 2025. It's dry out there. The audible sigh of relief when we saw it was dry conditions. Teams will split their prep between wet and dry. They'll look at the percentage chance, and then they'll divvy up their preparation as a result. But I was hearing from one of the competitors earlier on, last couple of races, the chances of rain only around the 20%, and yet we've had it in torrential conditions at various points of the last 3 races. It is a championship led again by Ismail Fassi. He retook the championship lead. He's got Thomas Ronhaar for company. Those two trying to get a qualifying performance on the board here that makes it go from our chat being, I tell you what, it's just been an incredibly open championship to what they're desperate for is a 2-horse race. They're looking to check out, and no one really has been able to put strong back-to-back performances together throughout the year. Fassi and Ronhaar hoping to do so. Ronhaar's on a podium streak of 2 in a row.
Yeah, you look at the results, and Fassi has had those 2 anomalies when we've had wet weather. And thankfully for him, this entire qualifying session is going to be dry. We're going to see the pure pace from all of these drivers throughout Q1, Q2 and Q3. So for Fassi, I think he will take some solace in the fact that both of the races that he's had poor performances at are the wet weather conditions. Everywhere else, he's been very, very solid indeed. And also we had the wet weather in Zandvoort and he performed incredibly well. Hard to tell if he was the fastest driver out on track because we had the McLaren trains throughout the entirety of that race. Firstly with Alfie Butcher in the damaged front wing, and then Lucas Blakely on an aggressive, long intermediate stint. So it's hard to tell if Fassi has actually upped his game in the wet, Marcel, but it was still a very, very strong performance.
I mean, it was, but Fassi is incredible. Just like nothing to take away from him. And I was surprised about his wet performance in the race. I think he truly made a step up, even though I don't know where you gain performance in, like mid-event. Like that's something that I just don't understand how that happens. I mean, it's good for him, but usually if you prepare well for the wet, then you will be good. If you don't prepare well, and you might suffer a little bit, but he just suddenly stepped it up.
Track specific, maybe? They've figured something out with the setup for that track?
Could be. I mean, he seemed very confident already in quali, so I guess like if you have the confidence on a track and maybe it is one of his favorites, then I guess it can work out a little bit different than on another one.
It was a really important result. Either way, where it came from, whether it was underperformance, I know he wasn't feeling very well at the start of the event. Wherever it came from, absolutely vital, because he not only retook the championship lead, it was more the manner of performance. As you pointed out, Matt, we did get a split field, really, for the first time all season long, which turned it into a private battle, and we didn't get the traditional train that we get out front because of that front wing damage. Like Event 1, it's a way more relaxed atmosphere in here on the final day compared to what we've seen. It's a bit fraught yesterday, wasn't it? When you put 2 races in one day, it got a bit tetchy in here.
Yeah, I've never heard the drivers exclaim so much. Naughty words being flown around left, right and centre.
It's like listening to you after a pint.
Hey, come on. Here we go. And you after 2. So, yeah, it was really interesting. You know, you had headsets going, you heard shouting between teammates. It was ridiculous. But yeah, I'm not sure exactly why it was that moment. Perhaps it was just how difficult Zandvoort in those conditions can be and how busy it was out there on track from 4th backwards. But yeah, I completely agree. It is much more calm right now, but it is Q1 and there's been no lap times set just yet.
Yeah, we're not waffling on with nothing really to talk about other than where we've been so far in the season. No one's out on track at the moment, setting any meaningful lap time.
It's the Q1 podcast,
and
Alex,
it's the Q1
as
podcast.
Always.
So we reflect on how we find the competitors today, the mood that everyone's in, the state of the championship. It's Fassi, then Ronha, then Opmir. Danny Bresnay returning to the cockpit today. He was laughing along a moment ago. I turned around. He realised he'd made so much noise, he'd interrupted the broadcast.
Meanwhile, his teammate Pookie was yawning, so that's a difference in energy levels right now. But they're relaxed, they're calm. Danny Bresnay very, very happy indeed to see his team leading the Constructors' Championship by a margin. I know for a fact, though, he's going to want that driver's title as well. Like, it would have hurt him just deep down to have to give up his seat for a race. He did say, obviously, in the interview, he understood that the other 2 drivers were quicker around Zandvoort and it wasn't one of his best tracks.
Yeah.
But, and I'm sure these agreements would have come in before the start of Event 2, but he's very much in the hunt and still is, despite missing 1 race, of course, retiring from Saudi as well. He's in 4th. Like, it's all to play for still for the Mercedes drivers.
Yeah, it really is. It's a very talented field. You know that when you've got the reigning champion, Freddie Rasmussen, who has definitely been faster than the 40 points he has to his name in 12th place so far this season, but it has been ultra competitive.
Speaking of faster than the points, you just looked at the Haas drivers there, who are on 2 now overall, which that does not reflect the pace that they have shown this season. They have been brilliant in qualifying, and I'd love to see them have some kind of breakthrough performance in this event. Obviously, 1 race to go later this evening. They've got the speed. It's just the racecraft that they're lacking slightly, and the experience perhaps as well to go with it.
Yeah, absolutely. But that will pick up as we go through the season. Rookie seasons can go different ways. And with 9 minutes to go, drivers are beginning to peel out of the pit lane.
Cars out on track, Alex. Let's go.
Let's go.
Come on.
I'm happy reviewing everything that we've seen. It's been a thoroughly entertaining season. Would I say that to you anyway, even if it had been a shocker? Probably, because that's our job. But it has been a delight to commentate on this season so far. We're into the crucial stage, though, where drivers, we're getting split approaches now, because we are getting closer to the end. Austin, Circuit of the Americas, wonderful challenging track, as Marcel has been talking us through. And then a trip to Mexico City, which has provided some very spicy moments in the past. Always love going racing in Sao Paulo. And then Qatar and Abu Dhabi to close out the season. Those are the final races of the campaign. Means at the front, do you start going into the management of the championship mode? Certainly felt like Thomas Ronha was very happy to take his 3rd place yesterday and get out of town. And then do you have to be slightly punchier if you're outside of contention, knowing that with an ultra-competitive field, it's not just a traditional 7-point swing with 2 heavyweights going for the title. There's an absolute barrel load of points that can change all the while if you can stick a couple of good results together. So interesting to see. I mean, I expect Freddie Rasmussen to be very, very strong and pushing on with nothing to lose. He's just trying to tick races off and see what happens, our reigning champ. But there's plenty outside the top 10 who could do damage towards the end of the season. And to underline that, Ruben Pedreño, who has had just 2 starts, was 4th on the grid for Zandvoort.
He wasn't able to translate that into a great result, sadly, for him. But going back to your point about Ronhar being happy about that 3rd place, half the field have already scored a podium this season. So it kind of shows you the variety of results that we've been having. It's displayed with the standings that we see as well and how close it is in the drivers. And Ronhar being very smart about it now, it has to be said. As you say, back-to-back podiums in Spa and Zandvoort. Marcel, coming to you, right, in this kind of championship, which we haven't really seen before in the sense of we could pick 8 drivers, maybe more, that could still win this driver's title. How would you play it? When you see the chaos unfolding before you, what would be your strategy?
I mean, if we talk chaos on track, obviously you would try to avoid it, but I mean, in general, like this point swinging all the time, it's just like a game of tennis. You're always waiting for your next shot. And I mean, we can see it especially with the driver that we are on board now, Barry Burman. He's the only guy with 2 wins, and he even got a pole position, so he's got an extra point with that, and he's still only P6, so that's how incredibly tight the field is and how ridiculously good the performances are from all top drivers.
Let's hear a bit of team radio. We're in Q1 with 6 minutes on the clock.
Good luck, bro.
Yeah, good luck, bro. You've got this.
Come on, guys. Good luck.
Big part of the turnaround yesterday was that man motivating his team and leading from the front. He had so many corners in Zandvoort where one lock-up, one wide moment would have been all that Ismail Fassi needed to take the win away from him. Didn't make the mistake, didn't make the error, and crucially opened the steering when Fassi sent it from downtown into turn number 1.
Ah, you've opened it up, haven't you, Alex? Okay, fair enough.
I thought we were going to see it. I thought we were going to see it in the earlier section.
Yeah. No, so did I. But also, I just want to say on that one, I think that was the wrong decision. Fassi got penalised a second. Thankfully for him, did not get given or didn't lose any positions. It didn't affect his championship at all. But I wasn't a fan of the 1 second penalty being given to him for that because there was no contact. He stayed on the track. Yes, there was avoiding action made by Burman, but that's racing, right? You know, we want to see these moves in the last few laps where it is very difficult to overtake a lot of the time. So for me, didn't agree with that one, but we're focusing on Q1, and it's Barry Burman out in front of the 29.8.
Duncan Hofland is back in the Aston Martin. I know it's a controversial one. I know that plenty of you watching will have an opinion on it. The avoiding action the Ferrari had to take was the reason that they got the 1 second penalty. Thank goodness it wasn't anything more. But just to remind you how it works, teams can appeal, they can put a protest in, then that's heard, and then it's up to the stewards to make a call. Sometimes penalties in games, in-game, can be increased, sometimes they can be rescinded, that's the nature of the process, and good that we were able to hear part of the process on the desk earlier on. Barry Burman's out front, 4.5 minutes to go. This has been a bit of a slow burner, but it's going to be very important because every Q1 that we've seen so far this year has featured a heavyweight name falling at the first hurdle, whether it be a former champion, whether it be someone that we expect to be at the front on form, maybe their previous results. By the way, Tom Deacon reading out your previous results. Are we going to let him back on the desk?
No.
No.
Yeah, fair enough.
Well, we thank Tom Deacon.
We're all in favour.
Terrific presenter, lovely man, but sadly not returning for the post-show on the back of what happened to Marcel earlier on. There we go. Let's get to the racing. Let's get to the lap times for everyone's benefit.
I just want to say quickly, Alex, with the fact that you said about heavyweights going out in Q1, Ismail Fassi has put in a very steady first lap. He's 16th after the first run of laps here in Q1. He'll have one more attempt. Barry Burrman on the other side of things retired. He's done and dusted for Q1.
Not for one of those pit stops we were mentioning.
Exactly.
Lovely.
But pressure on Fassi, our championship leader once again, but he needs to put in a lap in these final few minutes.
You're absolutely right. Ismail Fassi finds himself in 16th. No legal times on the board for Joni Tormela, the Aston Martins. And
yeah, Otis Lawrence, one of them. Yeah, 29.9, he invalidated his lap. Would have put him third place for Otis Lawrence. But that comes back to what you said, Marcel, right? You can cut around here. You can make sure somehow that two wheels are still on the track in certain angled apexes around here. But clearly, both Aston Martins have taken a little bit too much liberty with that.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, and you never know, you know, if we see their onboards, maybe they took a chunk of lap time out of it. So Otis's lap time was great, but we don't know how much he gained by that. On the other end, Barry Burman, that lap, and I think also Tom Manley, I think those lap times are ridiculous. I mean, that's a 10th ahead of P3, and that is Frederick Rasmussen. So everyone else struggling. It's a 4/10 gap to nearly P15. That's ridiculous.
Out on track, Otis Lawrence, he was a little bit downbeat yesterday with the performance. He felt that if the races had been dry, he would have been able to show some speed. Well, he's going to have to show some speed now. He'll be happy it's a dry session. He's just looking for a legal lap time. Knows he's got the pace. In the 29s earlier on, 29.9, there are key pinch points around the circuit. And this is a great opportunity on the opening lap of the race. But in Q1, we're focusing on low fuel, attacking laps. And Lawrence being in the drop zone is going to cause a little bit of worry for everyone ahead, because if he finds a clean lap, we'd expect it to be inside the top 15 and booking a place into the next stage of qualifying.
For sure. I'd be more worried if I was Otis Lawrence in this situation, because it is one lap and it's so easy to invalidate around here. And he can't hold back too much, right? He's invalidated, he's done a 29.9, but if you hold back a 10th or two, all of a sudden you're on the cusp again. It's so close in these qualifying sessions. Otis Lawrence doesn't have the weather to blame this time. Of course, before, his qualifying woes were down to wrong decision of tyres or wrong timing for the rain to come in Spa. It is bone dry right now. We know Otis Lawrence is rapid. He's shown that most of this season, and he has one lap to make sure it counts.
Marcel, from a driver's point of view, when you've shown the pace, when you've got the pace, but you've invalidated the first lap, what's the attitude heading into turn one, knowing you need it to get into the next part of qualifying?
I mean, depending on your overall confidence, if you know where your pace is and you are like, okay, this is my track, then probably not as much, but you can clearly tell by his language how he's positioning the car that he's not scared, that he's still committing. I mean, everything here looks like it could be close to an off-track, and he's just sending it. He's purple in Sector 1 even, a little bit down on his lap time into Sector 2. That's what we were talking about. If you commit a little bit more to Sector 1 and then in Sector 2 you might lose a little bit, but he's just on it. And it's great to see that he can provide this sort of confidence with such a young age.
So there are certain parts of the circuit, if you're thinking, hold on, that was very tight. There are certain parts of the circuit where you can cut the corner, the front wheels can be touching the racetrack, the rear wheels then go over the same part, so it can look like pinching. This is one of them. And he goes through, he's finding an improvement on what was already a good lap time. Got to keep it within the white lines though. This is the final run at the end. It's very important for so many out there to find an improvement when it counts. Drivers pushing on. Otis Lawrence has put a great lap together. He's found what he needs, but he's still got Matt Gallagher. Turn 19 ahead.
Hold your breath.
Oh! Hung on to it and kept it between the white lines. It cost him time. That moment, it looks minor from our point of view, but crucially, it gets him to 6th place.
You saw the time he lost, though, with those couple of stabs at the wheel.
Definitely a 10th went away, at least at that point. Okay, drop zone at the moment. Josh Edu, our championship leader, Fassi is there. Crozen's not taking part in Q2. He's out. Hoffland is in 19th. Joni Tormela goes over the line. He won't improve either. But where can our championship leader post his Williams? After returning to form in Zandvoort, it's very, very close through Andretti corner, but he comes over the line and he finds the time to get to 13th. Jarno Opmeer now in the drop zone.
Otmar in the drop zone, as you say. Hofland coming around the penultimate corner. How is Otmar's time? He's going to come over the line now, and it is good enough for P3. What about Duncan Hofland in the Aston Martin? He's got it through to 14th, which puts Gal, Edu, Lee, Crozen and Tormula the bottom 5 here in Q1.
Well, that was a dramatic conclusion and a couple of pressure laps there for Jarno Otmar, and Ismail Fassi in the end made it through by, just checking it because it can't be true, but it is true, 0.05 of a second.
That is crazy.
My word, that was tight for our championship leader by the barest of all margins. As another great commentator once said, he is in 15th position. Oh, that is tight, but he's made it and he'll be relieved. That's great to see. The celebrations having made through. That's great for Aston Martin and Duncan Hofland that he was able to find the lap under pressure there. Heading out, Brendan Lee, our two-time champ in his final season, out in 18th. Then Crozen, Tormula and Edu, not great for the Alpines. Maybe with the answer, and both Hasses going with Thomas Gal as well. Gal, who's posted it in the top 10 a couple of times. But big moments there for Jarno Otmar and for Ismail Fassi, but the first lap put him down the order. The second lap, maybe the pressure on his shoulders, put him down the order, but his teammate's only 13th. Do Williams have the feel, have the knowledge, and crucially have the setup for this qualifying session? They'll be hoping to be much further forward next. Right, let's check in with Claire Cottingham, who's speaking to Brendan Lee.
Yeah, disappointment, I'm guessing, Brendan, for you to come down at this point and be out at the start of Q1, not going into Q2. Can you just talk us through what happened?
Yeah, I just didn't put the lap together. I'm not going to sit and make excuses, just I didn't drive fast enough.
Were there real issues on the track? Were there certain parts? There's a couple of corners here that catch a few drivers out. Was it purely down to you not driving fast enough?
No, I'm not going to lie. Everyone has the same track. Everyone has the same game at the end of the day. I just didn't drive fast enough.
Okay, we're sticking to that. Fine. How are we feeling, though? Obviously, we're coming to the end of event 2. Overall, how are you feeling about the event?
Well, the season really hasn't gone to plan, being honest. There's still a lot of positives to look forward to in this race and also in event 3. Understanding the balance of the car in this game. And understanding how to maximize the rear stability. That's what I'm really struggling with. That's why I'm a bit faster in the rain, because you can play with the rear stability, whereas in the dry, you're really limited by what you can do in that area. But yeah, a lot of positives what can come in event 3 as well.
And are we hoping for a rain dance then? Will rain make Brendan Lee back up to the top?
I think I'm not even dancing, I'm having a full party effort to make the rain for the race.
Okay, well, we'll be sure to film that. Thank you so much. Apologies for seeing you so soon.
I mean, it's not your fault, but thank you.
It might be. You never know, Brendan. Thank you, Brendan. Thank you, Claire. Appreciate that. We're on to the next part of qualifying. I appreciate anyone who goes out in Q1 speaking to us, because it's not a nice part of the experience. But I tell you what, some of the names that we've had go out in Q1 this year, and Brendan Lee fronting up, what else can you do? No excuses being made. He hasn't quite got the pace with this year's version of the game. When it rains, he's back to the Brendan Lee that was the two-time champ. He got the ball rolling back when you and Tom were calling that original finale in Abu Dhabi all these years ago.
Yeah, that was a long time ago, wasn't it, Alex? Goodness gracious. 2017, Brendan Lee's first championship. And yeah, it's sad to see him not right at the front where we were so used to seeing him there. It was like, Brendan, please stop winning. So hopefully for event 3, he'll be able to unlock some of that quali pace, perhaps, as you say, in wet conditions. Now, before we dive into Q2, it has started. Marcel, his parting words before he left the desk was that Manley and Burraman and Manley's times were ridiculous.
Yeah.
Because they were first and second in Q1 and only did 1 lap.
Yeah. Amazing, really. I mean, Tom Manley's shown so much pace at various points of seemingly every event. He will be hoping before the end of the year that can translate into a win. Let's be honest. He's been involved time and time again. He's been on the podium in the past. He's been a contender in so many races. He's just looking to unlock that first win. And it always gives drivers tons of confidence if you can do it.
Yeah, he's got the speed. We've seen that in qualifying. We've seen that in some, like 90% of races, but then it's just that final percent where he's been lacking slightly, perhaps a decision here or there, that he hasn't been able to then score a really great result, a victory, his first victory, which I think he truly deserves if he can just piece it all together. But yeah, a couple more laps like that in Q2 and Q3, and he'll be right in the mix for this evening's race. And yeah, Tom Manley, very quick driver indeed. It's a bit hard on himself, though, isn't he?
Yeah, he is.
And I'd like to see him not be so hard on himself and look on the bright side of life sometimes when the race might well be unfolding away from you.
So the early laps, traditionally done on old tyres at this stage of Q2, but sighters that certainly Fassy's going to want to find a better feel around this circuit. You are really depending on the car in that first sector, the rotation that we can see from Thomas Ronhaar, who's coming to the end of the S's and sending it to the hairpin, the exit of which, Matt, absolutely crucial from all of the speed that you carry down the straight.
Here we go, Ronhaar. He's, as we've been saying, Mr. Cautious, I don't even know if he's happy with Mr. Cautious as a nickname, but that's what he's been showing these last couple of races. But he's also been electric in qualifying and given himself a great opportunity for a handful of points. And what I really enjoyed about Q1, and hopefully we'll see more of it as we go through these qualifying sessions, is the laps on board the drivers. When we saw Lawrence there, right, he was piecing together a lap that pretty much 80% of it was going to take him to the top of the timesheets. But then we get to this last sector, which is absolutely the most difficult for the drivers, because there's one corner that I've already highlighted and we're about to see it again. Let's see. So Ronhaar, you can see Ronhaar, he mounts the curb a lot more. He's actually going to come into the pits here. Yeah. But it's interesting to see the varying lines there where perhaps Lawrence ran a little bit wide in his Q1 lap, and that cost him a 10th, maybe even 2 actually, with the couple of attempts on the steering wheel. It's so easy to lose time around here with very marginal mistakes.
I also like going through. You just hear the hesitation. It's so composed. They're so accurate all the way through the corners. And suddenly that's just a bit of a scramble through turn 19. They're not able to be as precise through that corner as they are for the others, as we're used to with this super talented field. And everyone returning back, not setting laps on the old tyres. And we find ourselves just at the moment in a bit of a Q2 traditional lull.
Roll out the pod.
Welcome back, my friend. Radio voice.
Here we go.
Old school radio voice. In between. In between. Yeah. Burn my throat out if that's the case. All right. Well, not much going on track, but it's been hurry up and wait so far today. I think there's a certain amount of confidence that everyone knows what they've got underneath them. No one's feeling the need to set old tyre laps, and we're just waiting for the thrilling bit at the end right now.
We are. I don't know if it's just COTA. Maybe that's what's settling some drivers' feelings and vibes at the moment, because COTA for me is one of the best tracks on the calendar, and it is so rewarding when you piece a lap together. And these drivers, you know, Marcel said it's a difficult track, but it's also pieced together some of the greatest tracks on Earth. Yeah. And what a way to end Event 2. The drivers have settled back into their rhythm again. And let's see, we might well be talking about all the cursing and swearing that happens later on this evening in the race broadcast. But right now it is still calm and still composed from all the drivers here in the studio.
Yeah, at the moment, as you say, give it time. Outlaps now beginning, including, we've got Jarno Opmeer heading out there. We've got Barry Borremund heading out there and making their way through. Barry Borremund, our only repeat winner of the year so far, and looking for a bit of consistency. He was really pleased with his win in Bahrain when he found himself, in contention. And 6 drivers did that day. He was really pleased that he was able to scramble his way to the win. It was a real race where racecraft was crucial, car placement was crucial, defend, attack, and taking old tyres that day all the way through. And then you find yourself with yesterday, where Williams directly behind him for the entire race, just happens to be the championship leader as well, takes the points off him, takes the win, and plays himself back into contention. He's been in contention for victory around here in the past. Very fast customer. The very best race I've ever called in this championship, won by Jarno Opmeer. 4 cars scrapping for the win on the last lap here, back when Opmeer was with Mercedes.
Wasn't Brendan Lee in that fight as well?
He
I
was
believe.
indeed.
Yeah,
he was
loving
indeed.
life.
It's an absolute classic. Well worth digging out if you've never seen it before, and you're a convert to the sim racing action in recent times. Now time for a flying lap for Jarno Opmeer. And Jarno Opmeer is about to send it into turn number 1. Your guide around the circuit of the Americas is Matt Gallagher.
Oh, thanks so much, Alex Jakes. Jarno missing the apex of turn 1 enormously there, it has to be said. We've seen more aggressive cuts up the hill and into turn 1. Now hold your breath through the Maggots and Beckett's-esque section of the circuit of the Americas. Quite easy, it has to be said, and quite calm on the steering wheel from Jarno Opmeer. You can see the camera shaking in the bottom right-hand side of the screen. Gives you an idea of the force feedback that some of these drivers run. A variety of force feedback, it has to be said, depending on your personal preference. Hard on the brakes now, just before the 50-metre board. And it has to be said, visually, Jarno's not potentially cutting as much as we've seen from the likes of Otis Lawrence in Q1. Now it's a long old straight. Got anything to add, Alex, as we're on this straight?
Yeah, I'm liking the quarter zip you've got today.
Perfect. All right, hard on the brakes into the next corner at the 100-metre board. Nice cut there for Jarno Opmeer once again. In this middle sector, this part of the track is brilliant for racing. You can sell a dummy to the inside and try the outside, or vice versa. It is absolutely brilliant, and it's not over yet. Then we're into turn 8, old school Turkey style, which is, it's not turn 8 now, it's turn 8 in Turkey, you know what I'm saying? And then into the penultimate corner once again. Does he get this right? Yes, he does indeed.
That's nice.
That's how you do it, says Jarno Opmeer. And then into the final corner we go. How quick is this going to be? We've not seen any purple sectors come up, but it is the fastest lap for Jarno Opmeer with a 29.719. 1/10 quicker than what we saw in Q1 from Barry Burman.
Played himself into that really nicely. Not aggressive at the start, but certainly taking a liberal amount of curb through turn 19 that can be such a difference maker. How Nicolas Longuet would love that to be the case at the end of qualifying. Driver who's had a bit of heartbreak this year, drops down to 2nd place. Otis Lawrence gets that lap time in early doors to give him the foundation to push on for the next lap. Let's see where Lucas Blakely can go, one of our former champions in the field. And also waiting to see what Manley can do. Beresne, Ronha and Fassi. Here is Fassi out of the Andretti corner. And once again, it is a tricky lap time, 29.9, and his teammate directly ahead. Not ideal for Williams around this fabulous circuit. Thomas Ronha continuing his consistency of placing it in the top 5 with that 4th position. And welcome back Danny Beresne. He's gone back into the hot seat and he's gone into 3rd position. Otis Lawrence currently fastest in that drop zone at the moment. You've got Pookie, who has been so reliable. Both Williams with Caraton ahead of Fassi, the points leader at the moment. Freddie Rasmussen in 14th at a circuit where he's a 2-time winner. Then Duncan Hoffman finds himself bottom of the pile at the moment. But it was a great lap to get into Q2 all the same. One Aston Martin at the top, one Aston Martin at the bottom. Otis Lawrence was desperate for a dry quali. I think we're seeing why.
What mental strength from the 16-year-old. Q1 had 1 lap at the end to make it count. He does. And now we fast forward to Q2. He is fastest of anybody and may well want to save a set of tyres going into Q3 as well, which will put him at a very advantageous position, Otis Lawrence. As you say, he wanted dry weather. He's got it, and he's delivering in that Aston Martin as well. But I think what we're more focusing on right now in Q2 is who's going to be the top 10. And right now, Fassi, a lot of pressure on his shoulders in P13 now. Does look like he is suffering with a 10th or 2 lacking around this track, which we've not seen in the dry at all this season. 3 poles in the first 4 races in Event 1.
Yeah.
Freddie Rasmussen as well. We're looking at him right now. 14th, a very, very steady lap from Freddie Rasmussen, losing a couple of tenths in the first sector, 3 tenths in the last sector. So Freddie Rasmussen deciding to still put that lap on the board, but only good enough for 14th. So a few to keep an eye on. Alfie Butcher, previous race winner, of course, P10.
3.5 minutes to go. Otis Lawrence is currently fastest. Nicholas Longuet in second. Danny Beresne is in third. Jarno Opmeer is in fourth position. Then it's Thomas Ronhaar, Barry Borremund. Tom Manley's ahead of Ulas Zelderim, who's got one of the pole positions from this year. He got that in China, which led to a bit of a minor rule tweak. And then it's Lucas Blakely, Alfie Butcher, and then Pukki Karaton, Fassi Rasmussen, and Duncan Hofland is in 15th. Crucial final runs about to happen. Nicholas Longuet's already checked out of town, and his teammate is peeling onto the racetrack, though. The 6th place Barry Borremund is about to start his outlap as the drivers try to book their place in the top 10 shootout.
We have our first driver coming out for their final lap, and it's Barry Borremund, who put in a very good first lap in Q1. Hasn't really been able to take that step forward in Q2. P6 is a decent lap. It may well not be good enough to get him through to Q3, so he's going to have to find that extra bit of pace out there with the track evolution and the circuit ramping up. But he knows he can do it. Absolutely exuding of confidence after Zandvoort, but very different conditions, very different track that he has to face here this evening. But he knows he can do it. He's not only a great driver, a great teammate, as Danny Beresne has also retired. So the top 3 have decided they do not want to go again. They want to save a set of soft tyres for Q3, and they are confident they don't need any more. And I'm hearing laughing to my left. People are having fun, Alex.
Turnaround.
What's going on?
A complete turnaround to yesterday and the angst that we experienced in the studio as drivers struggled to improvise in the wet conditions. There was plenty of contact. As we showed you earlier on, there was plenty of penalties as well. And the drivers now find themselves with a big task ahead of them. Jarno Opmeer, always dangerous in the races if he can put it into the top 10 qualifying shootout in Q3. Barry Borremund, can he keep the momentum going? His teammate posted the 2nd fastest time. Doesn't have to go again. He does, though. Tom Manley very quick in Q1. Can he back it up in Q2? And the McLaren pair on the bubble at the moment. Most importantly of all for our championship leader, can Fassi find a way to make the top 10, or will he be in damage limitation mode, having just reclaimed the championship lead? First up, Barry Borremund, sweeping in to the section that sometimes you just have to right-click, copy and paste.
Is that what you do in the sim rig?
Yeah, that's all you got to do for the layout of the circuit, because it's Maggots and Beckett's, only it's in Austin.
Here's Alfie Butcher then, P10, pressure on his shoulders, 29.854 he currently has on the board. Alvaro Carreton slightly further back with a 29.896. It's all very close out there. When you look at the drivers in the 8s, it's all from Tom Manley down to Alvaro Carreton, and there is definitely time out there. We're going to keep an eye on the sector times as they come through. Barry Borremund will be the first across the line in a moment. What's Barry's first sector saying? It's a 24.548, 18 thousandths off the fastest first sector we've seen. Barry is on a flyer.
He is indeed, and delivering when he needs to book his place in the shootout. Not a given, not what we've seen across the season, where big names have fallen in the first 2 sections of this qualifying format. Pukki's trying to make sure that he is not one of them. And Alfie Butcher, one of our race winners this year. Superb performance when it came to Spa. But now, in Austin, Barry Borremund has the 2nd fastest time. Is off the road. Is that turn 19 for Zelderim, who's got everything wrong. The crucial corner was at the final corner as he was peeling back on. Either way, he's gone off the road and he will take no further part if others can find improvements. He now crosses the line. I think it was turn 19 where he'd gone off. Pukki's trying to knock him out. That's the aim now for Pukki, who does get to 9th position. Blakely's on the bubble as it stands. Still laps to come. Blakely drops down to 11th place. Nice lap over the line. It's Borremund in 2nd, Carreton in 3rd. Ishmael Fassi finds a way to the top 10 shootout. It's 6th place at the moment. Jarno Opmeer goes fastest of anyone so far. And improvements for Freddie Rasmussen. Alfie Butcher, he managed to make it through But it's Pookie, Manley, Blakely, Ozelderum and Hofland who fall at the second hurdle. You can see the disappointment writ large on Lucas Blakely's face. He's not been able to book his place in the top 10 shootout, but it's Jarno Opmeer with the fastest time, former winner around this circuit, then Otis Lawrence, who didn't have to go again, Barry Verman, Thomas Ronhaar, Alvaro Caraton, Nicolas Longue, and crucially, upgrading his performance when it mattered, Ismail Fassi into 7th, Beresne, Rasmussen, and Butcher, your top 10.
Hello, Jarno Opmeer. What a lap that was from
Scorching
him.
pace.
1 minute 29.541, over a 10th clear of Otis Lawrence, who of course didn't go for that second lap time, but a lot of drivers did, and Opmeer managed to really hook it up. He'll be hoping to replicate that in Q3, but the big shock has to be Manley that we just briefly saw there. Manley was showing a lot of pace, but he'll be starting from P12. Pookie as well, of course, in the Mercedes. There are chinks in the armour now. In that Mercedes team. We've seen it in qualifying in Zandvoort. We've seen it again for one of their drivers here today, and they're going to have to do a recovery drive with Pookie, and it's possible for him to do it. We've seen it before. He likes a Jarno Opmeer strategy, which is what we've coined it, where he goes long and then loves a fresh set of tyres towards the end of the race.
Yeah.
Will we see that again this evening? More than likely, unless we get changeable conditions. Please, no, I just want a dry race. That would be lovely.
Well, especially around COTA, where it is always so good in the dry. You don't need that added
You
spice.
want the DRS.
But
you want everything.
We might get it. We might get it. It's an interesting one as we make our way through this crucial qualifying session in the final race of Event 2. And we have out in the second part of qualifying, Duncan Hofland, Ulas Ozelderim, who went off at turn 19, then Lucas Blakely, Tom Manley, and the man we can hear now in conversation with Claire Cottingham, Pookie.
Yeah, not ideal leading the championship and to be out at this part of qualifying. It is a strange track, the Circuit of Americas, isn't it? Were there certain corners that were catching you out?
It was only one corner, really. I was, again, on a nice lap, just like in Zandvoort, and I messed up one corner completely. The double right starting into sector 3. I lost more than a tenth there compared to my delta. Apart from that, every turn was pretty nice. It was a good lap. Even the lap time is not that bad. 7.6 I did, I think. And I just missed out on like 15,000. So at least we have done in Q3. So I'm happy for that. And P11 is not that bad overall. So can work on it on the race. Could be better, but not terrible, to be honest.
Frustrating as well, because it was just at that final part of qualifying, wasn't it? There was a moment that I think one of the RBs got through and then you knocked them out, and then unfortunately just at the end.
Yeah, when I crossed my finish line, I was already P9, so I was quite skeptical that if I make it through or not. But I saw more and more cars getting just behind me, and I was praying, of course, but someone the last minute overtook me, and unfortunately P11 for me it is.
How are we looking at this race then, leading the championship? It's a race that is important for both you and your teammate Danny Beresne to score some good points.
I think it's still looking pretty nice. Depends on what Danny does, of course. In Q3, he has 2 tires for Q3, as he advanced only 1 lap from Q2. So maybe he can get the top 5, and me from P11, I'm always really looking forward to the races a lot more than the qualifyings. I'm looking to improve a few places and score as many points as possible.
Is your strength more in races rather than quali?
Yeah, definitely.
Okay, some fighting talk there. We'll let you jump back into your rig. Apologies for seeing you so soon.
No worries. Thank you.
Okay. Oh, man, I cannot believe it. What am I doing in the double right?
The frustration, and then we got the cool reaction afterwards, and then we heard the reaction over the line from Pookie. The frustration of not making that top 10 when he'd started so well at the beginning of the year and being able to do that constantly. But others are learning all the time, and your knowledge of how to progress a championship season as a rookie, that's where it's coming under a little bit of pressure. He's not missed out by much.
I was going to say, I don't think Pookie can be too hard on himself over the course of this season and what he's put down. 3 second places, I think it was, so far this season, which is phenomenal work from the rookie. And the way in which he's dealing with adversity as well, it's a little bit of disdain that it's happened, but it's nothing too crazy. It's just, it's a bit annoying. What was I doing in the double right?
Yeah.
But he'll reset and he'll be back, and I'm sure he'll be heavily in the points for this evening's race.
Well, we are building up to the final part of qualifying. Fassi doesn't seem, considering how stressful this session might have been, looking at his lap times, he doesn't seem too concerned at all.
He sees that red light on the camera and he's like, they're looking at me. They are looking at me.
We certainly have been this year a number of times, and he has been ultra impressive in his second season in the championship. Last year, this man was the winner, Freddie Rasmussen, not only of the championship, but this round as well. And around this circuit of 5.5 kilometers, we'll have 28 laps later on. I promise you in the post-show, Tom Deacon will tell you what Central European time that we get going. And then we'll see whether it matches the dry conditions of last year, which is what we had. And we had a great battle for victory, separated across the line by half a second by Rasmussen and Burman. Brendan Lee was on the podium that day. He is one of our heavy hitters who's gone out in the first part of qualifying. But the story of this year, Matt, we've got new names. There's one of them. Otis Lawrence has looked really, really quick. That lap from Jarno Opmeer is going to give him a lot of belief. Driver who isn't always known for his one-lap pace, but he's absolutely in the mix here. A former winner around this circuit. Barry Borrowman trying to go back-to-back. We didn't have any multiple winners. He's trying to be our first back-to-back winner this year.
Alex Jakes, storyline. Another storyline. Storyline. How do you like that? There's a lot to keep an eye on, for sure. But yeah, the thing that I love to see, especially in this sort of interim period where we're looking at the drivers, this whole sort of young guns versus the old guard. The young guns are just sat there laughing.
Yeah.
They're having a great time. Cameras, lights, I love it. That's what they're saying. And that kind of personality and the fact that they're able to just soak it up and enjoy it is so crucial, and that's why we've seen so much success already this year.
Carl's peeling out of the pit lane. And we'll see that on the circuit in anger in a few moments' time. Really intrigued to see what we get from Nicholas Longuet and Barry Burman, two good friends, teammates as well, been encouraging each other all the way through. And Nicholas Longuet would love an opportunity to have something to show from this season, considering all the pace that he has produced. Great comeback drive yesterday in Zandvoort.
Certainly was. It really was. But he doesn't want comeback drives, does he?
No.
He wants a lovely little lights to flag victory. That would be the easy one that we don't tend to see all too often in 2025. You can see now 8 minutes 25 in this Q3 session to go. All the drivers are now on an out lap, and we can take a look at Ismail Fassi right there, who has been on the back foot in this qualifying session. There is no denying that whatsoever. He has managed to find the lap time, and this is the crucial thing, right? This is what makes a champion. You don't have to be outright quickest every single race in order to win a championship. It's being able to thrust yourself into Q3 when maybe people like us, Alex, start to say, oh, are they going to make it? Are Williams looking fast? But they make it anyway. Both of those drivers, Caraton and Fassi, are in this Q3 session, and now it's about extracting as much as they possibly can.
It's also about not trying to push for a top 3 if your car's only capable of a top 5. Playing the percentages is something that, gloriously for our benefit, we've barely seen this year. It's been gung-ho and it's been fascinating viewing as a result. But around this circuit, when it is so easy to invalidate your time, when it is so easy to find yourself staring at a 10th place start, it is crucial that you perform up against your championship rivals. This is the sort of session, Matt, where titles are won and lost, because we're getting to this stage of proceedings. So just remind you that Fassi is the championship leader ahead of Thomas Ronhaar, who is just a few points back. Then it's Jarno Opmeer and Danny Beresne. They are the top 4. 5th place driver Pookie not taking part in this session. What can Williams do? Can you get what Otis Lawrence had in Q2, that good early effort in to allow you to attack on that second lap, to really go for your most extreme lap when it counts on this final day of event 2. You're on board with Barry Burman, who's going aggressive on his way through turn 12.
Yes, worth mentioning, drivers such as Barry Burremand, Nicholas Longuet, I believe, Otis Lawrence, they have another fresh set of softs to play with, so they'll be able to get a really nice benchmark time early, and as long as they keep it within track limits, they will really throw down the gauntlets. Let's see what Barry Burremand can do. That electric in Q1. Marcel Kiefer left and said that was ridiculous from him and Manley. Manley not in Q3, of course, but Barry Burremand is. Here's his teammate, Nicholas Longuet.
Longuet first over the line, 29.7, 29.5 for Barry Burrament. That's a nice time to start things off. Otis Lawrence will want to produce something even better. The green Aston Martin over the line, and it is a 29.5, but he's 0.02 of a second back on what Barry Burrament was able to produce. Ismail Fassi with his first effort in Q3. Is he able to get amongst the contenders? It's a 1 minute 30.3. There's been a mistake in there somewhere because that's not what he was looking for at all. And that is odds on to be P10 for Fassi if everyone else can deliver. Like Freddie Rasmussen, who's gone to provisional pole. Otis Lawrence is in third, then it's Beresne in fourth. Longuet is in fifth. Opmeer is in 6th position. Fassi drops down now to 8th place, thanks to Thomas Ronhaar, putting it 3rd on the grid. Caraton and Butcher are the names without a time on the board. They invalidated, and it's a 30.5 for Caraton, a 30.5 as well for Alfie Butcher. By 0.08 of a second, it's Freddie on top after run 1 in Q3.
Incredibly impressive from Freddie Rasmussen. We haven't really been speaking about him in this session. Quietly going about his way is Freddie, and fastest, as you say, by 0.08 of a second. Ronhaar very close in behind, as is Lawrence. All of them in the 0.5s. Fassi was 100% on a used set of tyres for that lap. He was slow across every sector on that one. So Fassi only will have one bite at the cherry in that Williams. I think same for Caraton as well. They've been on the back foot. They've had to go more times across these qualifying moments. So, yeah, let's see what Fassi can do. He has a reasonably slow benchmark time that he'll see that Delta go to green, as the drivers love to see, apart from Freddie Rasmussen. Freddie Rasmussen hates the green Delta, as we know. But it's clearly working because he's fastest.
Yeah, great lap. Winding it up when it matters in Q3 as the field trailed their way back to the pits. And Jarno Opmeer in 7th there. Fassi and Caraton and Alfie Butcher at the bottom end looking for improvement, and their time to beat is a 29.512. Freddie Rasmussen with the time on the board, beating Barry Burrament, and it's all making total sense. Our top two at the moment, because they were the top two at the end of the race 1 year ago in the Sim Racing World Championship.
This year making sense,
What?
Alex?
It hasn't happened.
It had to happen at some point.
It hasn't happened so far. We'll probably get completely different front row in a few moments' time. The track will be improving. It will be rubbering in as we go, so there will be an opportunity for the drivers in close proximity. This battle for pole position isn't done yet. You are looking at collection of drivers, including Nicholas Longuet there, just geeing himself up, trying to get him into the zone, trying to match that time. He knows he's left a couple of tenths on the table, looking to get on terms with his teammate, who is currently in 2nd position. Thomas Ronhaar with a strong lap in the Kick Sauber, and he's been able to book that P3. P3's all the way, and he might have half a chance.
We said right at the start of the season, 15 points is what you're looking for.
That went out of the window.
Yeah.
Might come back through the
I was
window.
like, actually, let's go back to that. Let's do 3rd places from here on in. Look, we're seeing 0.5s for the top 4 drivers. Let's not forget Jarno Opmeer, who's gone out on an old set of tyres for that first run. He did a 0.5 in Q2.
Yeah.
And the track is ramping up. It's going to get slightly quicker in these final runs. Do not discount Jarno Opmeer. But the tricky thing, it is a lottery out there sometimes with these track limits. You just have to risk it. 1 pixel over the line and you're getting a track limits warning. So that's what Jarno Opmeer will have to deal with, as with the other drivers as well. A couple still in the pits, 3 in fact, as we come into 2 minutes left. Alex Jakes, come on.
Here's the 2-minute warning. So how greedy are you going to get? You're looking for your best lap of the entire day so far, but you're having to make sure that it doesn't leave you vulnerable with the track improving all the time. And when the margins are as tight as they are, and we've got the top 5 covered by a 1/10 of a second, it's going to be fascinating to see who's just able to judge it perfectly. Because how tempting is it for Barry Burman to go, okay, I know what corner I left a little bit on the table for, but then...
I know where I left 8 thousandths on the table.
He would know, though. He would know. That's the incredible thing. When you discuss, they all know exactly where the time has been lost. It's not like, well, I thought that was the best that was possible. That's very rarely a sentence you hear in this studio. There's always a little bit of improvement that can be done out there. And then you watch the onboard and you're like, where? Where on earth do you think that you've dropped time? Remember, any oversteer, any correction, you're out of the battle for pole position. Let's see how clean it is for Danny Berezne. First of all, let's check in with him.
Let me mute myself. I'll try my best, guys.
Copy, Danny. Send it, buddy. Go smash it, mate.
He's been racing with a smile on his face. Can he find a lap time to make it even wider?
Send it, is what he was told, and he's currently sending it. You can see the delta very close to his current personal best. It keeps flirting between the green and the red. Green is what we want to see, and that's a great exit for Danny Berezne. Almost a 10th up. Berezne in the hunt for pole.
Really nice through turn 9, a corner that can tempt you wide, but that was a perfect exit for the Mercedes man. And is anyone going to be able to find a big step forward when it counts? It's a very good first sector for Barry Burman. He's still in the hunt here. The same applies to Otis Lawrence. The same applies to the man that we're on board with. Really good opening to the lap. Not so much the case out there for others. And we'll see what we get in the next couple of corners because improvements are being made.
How close through the first sector? You've got Lawrence, you've got Berezne, and you've got Burman separated by 3 thousandths of a second through this first sector. This is going to be so close. Danny Berezne is on an absolute flyer.
It's looked really good through turn 19 as well. What a brilliant lap to stay on board for. All the way. Is it provisional pole? No. It's a strong third place, though.
It was turn 19. It was turn 19.
Oh, Danny Berezne in third. Barry Burman trying to take provisional pole. He's got it. He's into the 29.4s, but Otis Lawrence is as well. And he moves ahead for Aston Martin. Here's an opportunity across the line for Nicholas Longuet. Got close to his teammate's time, but couldn't get ahead. Alvaro Caraton is next over the line for Williams. He moves up to 7th. His teammate is going to try and improve. Freddie Rasmussen goes to 3rd. Freddie Rasmussen finds 3rd place for Red Bull. And now the points leader is making his way to the end. We're looking for his time, but Jarno Opmeer is looking for something as well. And Opmeer gets 6th position. Fassi comes over the line. And Fassi finds 5th place. Otis Lawrence is roaring because he's taken pole position and he's absolutely elated with it. By 9 thousandths of a second, he's even louder than we are.
I thought the studio was on fire with how loud he was being right there. Otis is loving life, as you can see. He can't believe it. If you reflect back to Q1, he was right on the brink of going out, needed the lap, and he's now on provisional pole position for this evening's race.
It changed at the end there. Otis Lawrence takes P1. Thomas Ronhaar will join him on the front row. He misses out by 9 thousandths of a second. And I've been commentating a decade, and I've never had a driver outshout me until today.
That was impressive. And also, if this doesn't work out for him, the high jump is what he should go for next.
Unbelievable.
The leap on that guy. Wow.
Well, another epic qualifying session. Barry Burman, great lap from him. He's not missed out by much. Freddie Rasmussen would have thought that he was in the mix as well. Ismail Fassi, so important to turn a tough day into a P5. He'll have strategic options for the race later on. Nicholas Longuet, not far back as well. Maybe a bit of frustration for Jarno Opmeer because he put a new set of boots on, didn't he, for that final run, but wasn't able to trouble those ahead. Rounding out your top 10, Danny Berezne, Alvaro Caraton and Alfie Butcher didn't find a legal lap time on the board. Lovely scenes between Barry Burrow and Otis Lawrence, who will start at the front of the field in F1 sim racing. He's had a win earlier on, now he's got a pole, and he's shouting about it.
I've been looking at some of the times, and the reason I think we've seen such elation from Otis Lawrence is that last sector that he put on the board. I don't think he thought pole was on, and he did a 29.1 in the final sector, a 10th clear, 2/10 clear of Ron Haas. And he's managed to snatch it. That I want to see. Look, Marcel, get on that touchscreen right now and show me turn 19, because I reckon it's one of the most blistering turn 19s that Lawrence has ever done. But what a qualifying session. Ron Ha in second. We've not really spoken about him at all.
No.
But I know Tom we're probably going to speak about a lot. So where do we want to start?
There's so much to unpack from that. And yes, I will be giving you the Central European time later on of the race.
I love how you write it down in the
love it.
Yeah, and I'll be talking about the Greenwich Meridian time as well.
I like that one as well.
As to mid-late, I have to say sorry to Marcel. I've gone away, I've thought about that.
Yeah.
I shouldn't have brought up his 4 race results around COTA. But what I really wanted to do was just highlight how difficult this track is.
I think if you keep bringing it up, that's the best way.
Well, okay, all right, I'll do that. Gentlemen, that had a little bit of everything. And as you mentioned quite rightly, Otis Lawrence celebrating pretty hard. And we know this is a very compact studio. I can imagine that.
It doesn't matter if it's a hanger. Doesn't matter if it's a hanger when he's shouting that
been heard. But I can imagine that would have ruffled a few drivers' feathers a little bit from the frustrations. I'm not taking anything away from Otis, but that sort of celebration, I love to see it. But I just feel like a few drivers have been like, all right, it's only quali. You pick up a point, but let's see what happens in the race. Let's find out how he's feeling. And is he going to take up the high jump? It's Otis Lawrence with Claire Cottingham.
The highest jump he's ever done in his life, says Mr. Otis Lawrence. Incredible. That's exactly what you needed. The last 2 times I've spoken to you have not been a happy Otis Lawrence. This is maybe the happiest I've seen you.
I don't think I've celebrated this much in my life. I celebrated more for Koi than I did for the race win. But yeah, I sent it. I lost my voice already, but yeah, I'm happy.
It's okay. You don't need a voice to race. You were tapping your temple as you got out. Could you just explain a little bit about that?
I don't really know. I just started doing it out to the camera. Just adrenaline, to be honest. I'm just full of it right now, and I'm just very happy.
A bit of maybe a mindset thing. I guess you were quite down over the last couple of days, and this has really been qualifying, especially as a place you really need to have that concentration.
Yeah, absolutely. I haven't had the best 3 days. I haven't give up as well. That's the main thing. I kept pushing, and today got pole. Hopefully another 4th race in the event win.
Yeah. Talk to me about where the gains were. Obviously, don't give it all away to everybody, but we were talking on the desk how drivers will always know where they're gaining and when they are losing time. Where were you really strong, or maybe where were you not the strongest and you knew that you could improve for that pole lap?
Honestly, the last sector was really my strong point in the lap. I think I PB'd in my last sector just then. I didn't have a really good first and middle, which nearly lost me pole, but yeah, peaked the lap. I actually made a brake bias change last corner because I actually forgot to make that change during quali, which I was losing the rear end at the last corner because I didn't make the brake bias change. So made it at the end, and that was probably what got me pole.
Okay, so it wasn't all plain sailing out there?
Absolutely not.
Okay, and how are you feeling in yourself now? We've got pole position bagged for the final race of Event 2. Are we going out there to get a win? How easy is it to win around COTA on this game?
It's not easy. I've done it before from the back of the grid, so yeah, just got to keep it cool, stay focused, and we'll see what happens.
Okay, we're expecting fireworks. Good luck.
Thank you.
Thank you very much to Claire. We're hearing his team comms now. So loud, we didn't even get all of the sound. That's the level it reached. I love that. The adrenaline took over of Otis Lawrence there. And quite rightly, because it hasn't been the event he wanted for Event 2, coming off the back of Event 1 when he won in the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia in Jeddah. But that's what it means to him.
I think you make a good point about how the other drivers might feel about that type of celebration, but the desk will never be part of the celebration police. I love a bit of adrenaline at the end there. Look, they're putting the hours in. They're devoting their lives to this. If you can't celebrate a pole position, what are we doing here?
And what I love as well the most is that the drivers have been told, I think for some learnings, that they're not allowed to make any noise until everyone finishes the session. So he's probably just there about to like explode with excitement. And then as soon as the last driver comes over the line, that's when he leapt up.
Houston, it's launch off.
Was he last over the line? Because like I didn't hear myself talk after that point. So like he might well have been last over the line.
Well, I walked back into the studio from watching from the screens that we have out with some of the rest of the teams, and I walked in and I saw it. It's just the gesturing towards the camera. That is a driver who is fully confident, who believes in his abilities. There's still some left in the track, which he sort of even said in quali. And I loved in commentary, Alex, when you said I left 8,000 somewhere on the track for Barry Broman, and they'll all be thinking that. But that's the difference, and now has to deliver in the race. But it's great to see that energy of, as you mentioned, Matt, during the quali from the young guns.
Yeah, well, I think the key thing for Otis Lawrence there, you mentioned he had not a steady, but not the greatest Sector 1, Sector 2. To personal best on the night is unheard of for drivers. You think of the amount of thousands of laps that they've done around this circuit, and to set a personal best of his entire career in the last sector is what got him pole position, and hence why he was just so elated.
Yeah, right. Marcel Kiefer, the man that I managed to annoy earlier on in the show. You can rewind that on YouTube maybe, or any of the other socials. We absolutely love him. He's got the analysis of that lap from Otis.
Welcome, guys, to the VIP section where Tom is not allowed in. And we are going to have a look at this beautiful lap from Otis Lawrence. First of all, congrats, but let's take a look what he actually did. So heading down into turn 1, super high speed, 300 kph, chucking it down into third gear, actually not cutting the inside corner, which some drivers choose to do. Then he's cutting the right-hand corner in turn 2, close to the track limits, sending it into the S section, flat out all the way, and even here he's not even taking a lift. But you can see his lap was actually not perfect and so fast thanks to sector 1 or 2. It was actually, like he said, the final sector, and he's just up now on his delta, which usually should not be good enough yet, but he's gaining more and more and more, and now he can chill down a little bit, heading down the straight, DRS activated again, just using the ERS and preparing for the next braking zone, and a very crucial part of the lap where they brake at the 100-meter board down into third. They usually cut even a bit more, so I think he lost a bit of lap time there. Not purple in sector 2. Also a little bit of correction into that sector, so maybe sector 3 could have been even better, but let's see. He said he really committed in the final few corners, so let's take a look. Flat out through the double right-hander, similar to what we see in Turkey, but the opposite way, and now small tap on the brake, full committed, and his brake by exchange, which we don't know what he did, commitment in the final corner, and that's how you do it. Beautiful lap, beautiful stuff, and what should I say more than that was simply lovely.
Simply lovely. When Marcel Kiefer says it's simply lovely, you know he means it. Full commitment. While we were watching that back, we have a monitor just in front of us. The Aston Martin guys, Fab Donoso and the rest of the team, even Otis Lawrence was watching back that lap, very excited about everything. Even Ruben Pedreno from the Williams driver, from Williams team, who's not racing today, but all loving that lap. It just was exquisite.
It's great to see a driver at the very forefront of what they can do at the key moment, and that's why we love Q3, and that's why we love laps like that.
Surprises then, Matt Gallagher, from quali there. Anyone that sort of springs to mind?
Surprising in a good way or a bad way?
I'll take either.
Okay, all right. Surprisingly disappointing, Alfie Butcher, I think. Didn't even set a lap time in Q3. Invalidated his one, and it wouldn't only have been good enough for P9, I think, anyway. Freddie Rasmussen, I think, will be very happy with P4. That was a quiet performance, but gives him a great shot of winning the race later on. And Ismail Fassi was on the back foot, as championship leader, to be starting P5, that's exactly what I was saying in commentary in Q3 in particular, of you just have to drag a result out of something even when you're looking like you're on the back foot. That's exactly what Fassi has done with P5. So 3 surprises for you there, mate.
Oh, thank you very much. It feels like it's almost Valentine's. Love that. Listen, guys, just curious, going out in Q1 were both of the Alpine drivers. Hasn't been the event they would have wanted, as we see some high fives just behind me from Otis Lawrence. I mean, this is his studio right now. That's how it feels.
That's what happens if you take pole.
He's got a point. We're in his territory now. What does a team like Alpine do? It hasn't been there. Joni Tomala yesterday in Zandvoort came in 6th, but with Josh Eder, no points in event 2. So there's something going on, and I can see in the distance past you, Matt, they're regrouping as a team. What can you do if it hasn't gone well for you in Q1?
Regroup. That's the thing, right? You can't let your head go down. We keep saying it about this championship, but a lot of teams have been struggling at some point. We've seen the resurgence of Ferrari, for example. So they've got the drivers there. Josh Edu is a fantastically quick driver. Tormala has all the experience that you need. He's got the entire book. So they just have to find where they're losing the time, because it's as simple as that. There was still more time on the table for Lawrence, and he took pole position. We saw that with that lap. So there's clearly something lacking there. The setups, of course, are open for all the teams to do what they want with. And Alpine just haven't got it right just yet.
I was looking at the socials last night, as I always do for F1 Esports and the F1 sim racing world. That moment, Barry Broman is just consoling Nicolas Longo. It's a powerful image. It's brilliant to see. Nicolas Longo will be starting in P6. He's with Claire Cottingham now.
P6 indeed for the Ferrari man, who's had quite a lot of ups and downs, I would say. I want to talk just briefly just about your race yesterday and the great recovery that you had. I know obviously for you maybe it wasn't the win that you wanted, but I do think it was a really strong recovery from yesterday. Have you had time to reflect and know it was a great recovery now?
Yeah, well, obviously after sleeping and just kind of recovering from last night, looking back at it, obviously from the position that I was in, I couldn't have done much better than that. It was even just, I was ready to call it a day after I had to pit for the inters at the beginning. But I knew that I just had to push through just like I did last year. I did the whole race. So I said, okay, I'll do my best. And I don't know, I just felt one with the car. The setup felt amazing in the rain, and I could manage to get some moves, and got lucky with the strategy that I decided to keep going longer in the first interstint, and yeah, honestly just played out very well.
And important points, of course, for you and your teammate. It has been a struggle, it's fair to say, over the last couple of events, the last couple of rounds, really, for Ferrari. Does this feel a little bit of a turnaround? P6 today isn't, again, exactly where you want to be, but it's a good place to start from for this race.
No, P6 is very good for COTA. I'm not too disappointed with that. We were very fast in practice, so we expected the Q3 quite comfortably, which it was. And P6 in COTA, where the tires and the strategy is very open, you can do a lot of stuff from that position. And Barry from P3, I believe, he's in a very good position again to fight for the win. So again, we're both cars that we can work together as we know best. And COTA is a track that we both like and we're pretty fast in, so hopefully it's going to be good.
It's one of those tracks that we talk a lot about the turns a lot more than we do talk about the track as a whole. Turn 19 is a part of the track that catches a lot of drivers out. Is there anywhere that you think in the race that you can really maximise that maybe in qualifying you sort of struggled, or are you pretty confident around here?
No, I'm pretty confident in the race conditions in general, and then in this track as well. Obviously, with the track limits, it's going to be very, very hard to stay on track, but pushing at the limit. I think some people may got caught out by the speeds that we have to carry in these corners. And there's opportunities everywhere in this track. There's plenty of hairpins, maybe like 5 or 6 opportunities that you can overtake from on this track. So I'm sure you guys see a very eventful race.
I think it's going to be really eventful. Something that is so fascinating about this championship this year is how open it is, how we keep seeing changes of the top of the championships. Mercedes, I know, are leading the way in the constructors, but the drivers is still really open at the moment, isn't it? Are you confident that Ferrari can get back in it?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, last year, 3 races to go and we were 40 plus points back behind Mercedes, I think, back then again. And then we won by 40 or more points. So there was a more than 80 point swing, and it can happen anytime. There's still 5 races to go. I think we're around 70 points behind. We're not too focused on it right now. We're just focusing on getting our groove back, which is looking good now. We did 2 good qualifying sessions back to back, and then hopefully we can get another top 5 with both cars today. Would help us a lot.
Okay, we look forward to seeing how you two get on.
Thank you.
Good luck.
Thank you very much there, Claire. In Claire's Corner, a brilliant addition. I haven't actually asked if I'm allowed in Claire's Corner, but I'm definitely not allowed in the VIP
I doubt it.
area.
You're barely allowed on this desk.
I don't know if I'm going back for event 3, to be honest with you. Right, gentlemen, here we go then. Should we look at the
What's
grid?
next?
Starting
grid?
grid.
Oh,
Yes, there we go.
Here we go. Back row, Tom. Let's go.
Come on. V20 and Joris. Crozen for the Haas team starts in 19.
Who's next?
Brendan Lee. He didn't drive fast enough, his words. Josh, there were no points in event 2 so far. Will it change today? He starts in P17. Right, Thomas Gow, the other Haas driver, in 16th. And his 4th race in the Sim Racing World Championship. Duncan Hoffman of Aston Martin starts in 15th.
Who's 14th, Tom?
Well, interesting enough, it's the Turkish driver, Ules Özildrim, starts in P14. Lucas Blakely, the 2022 champion, starts in P13.
11th?
That'll be Tom Manley. Quite a surprise not to get through to Q3. He starts in 12th.
Anyway.
And Istvan Pukki starts in 11th. He'll be looking to add to his 3 podiums this season. Alfie Butcher starts P10. Alvaro Carreton, a return to some form for him. Only picked up 6 points so far this season. He's in 9th. Danny Beresny in 8th. Jarno Opmeer, the 2-time winner around this circuit of COTA. He starts in 7th. Nicholas Longe, just heard from him from Claire's Corner. He's allowed in the Claire's Corner. He starts in 6th. Ismail Fassi, your driver's championship leader at the moment, starts in 5th.
Road 2.
Oh, here we go then. Freddie Rasmussen. This is the big battle in 4th. He's won twice around here as well. Barry Bruman coming off a win yesterday in Zandvoort. That's 2 wins for him this season. He starts in 3rd. And the front row.
Paul Deacon.
No, there can only be one man, the jumping man. He's never jumped so high. But before him is Thomas Ronner in 2nd. Otis Lawrence in 1st. His pole position. Can it be another pole to victory? That's your starting grid. Gentlemen, it's always a lot of fun. That's the last quali show of event 2. I'm quite sad about that.
Yeah, I'm quite sad about it as well. Always good to see a first pole position in a career, though. Nice moment.
Here we go then. Right, I'll turn to this camera because that's the one that's on. Gentlemen, we'll say goodbye for now. We'll be back at 2100 Central European time, but if you like a bit of Greenwich Meridian time, that will be 2000 hours. We'll see you then as we go racing around COTA. Thanks, Alex Jakes, Matt Gallagher, Claire Kettingham, and also Marcel Kiefer, VIP section, whatever. Don't want to go anyway.